I used to live in a pretty nice and lively suburban neighborhood, just a couple of miles from the big city. It was one of those neighborhoods where the sound of kids laughing filled the air, where teenagers zipped by on bikes, and where almost every house had a dog that barked at passing cars. I knew almost every kid on the block. Most of them were my friends. We all went to the same school, we hung out every afternoon, and we had sleepovers almost every weekend. We had so many memories together, some good and a few bad, but there's one memory that sticks with me more than any other. And even now, years later, I still get goosebumps just thinking about it. I know a lot of the other kids remember it too. How could we forget? I was around 13 or 14 years old, I can't say for sure, but I was definitely in middle school when it happened. Back then, life was perfect. Our neighborhood was safe and always buzzing with activity. We played in the yards, built camps in the nearby forest, swam in the river, rode our skateboards until sunset, and held movie nights under the stars. Growing up there felt like something out of a dream until he showed up. At first, it was just something odd, something that didn't fit. A man, a stranger. We'd never seen him before, and he drove around the neighborhood in a dark gray van. The first few times, no one really thought much of it. We assumed he was a traveler, maybe someone living out of his van, doing that stealth camping thing people talk about, or maybe he was just passing through. But then it became unsettling. He would park at the playground and just sit there, watching the kids play. At night, odd hours like midnight or even later, he'd slowly drive past houses with his headlights dimmed, like he was scoping the place out. Sometimes, when me or my friends were walking home, he'd crawl by slowly, then speed off without warning. It gave us all a sick feeling. Even the adults started noticing. Parents began warning us, "Don't go near that van. If he approaches, run, scream, get help immediately." Eventually, the police were called. They started doing patrols, making their rounds more often. One evening, they actually stopped the guy and questioned him. He told them he was just a van camper looking for quiet neighborhoods to park in overnight, said he wasn't doing anything illegal. They gave him a warning, told him to stick to proper campgrounds, and let him go. We all hoped that would be the last we saw of him, but it wasn't. One Saturday, we had this huge birthday party. Two of the neighborhood kids had birthdays in the same week, so we threw a joint celebration. Started around 3 p.m. and lasted well into the night. It was one of those magical evenings: music, games, pool fun, food everywhere. The whole neighborhood was there. Around 8:30 p.m., me and some of my buddies were sitting on the driveway with our bikes and skateboards, just talking and laughing. That's when we heard it. The low hum of an engine. We turned. A vehicle was crawling toward us. It slowed to a stop right at the end of the driveway. The dark gray van. The man rolled down his window and stared at us. Didn't say a word. The air shifted. We stopped laughing. We just stared back. One of my friends stood up and shouted, "You're not supposed to be here. We'll tell our parents if you don't leave." The man didn't flinch. Then he simply drove off, turned the corner, and disappeared. We ran to the adults and told them what happened. They took it seriously, told everyone to stay close to the house, not to wander off alone. The party carried on until about 10:30 p.m., then slowly fizzled out. My house was just a couple blocks away. My friend Leo, who lived next door, walked with me. We talked about the party, joked around a bit, then said goodnight and split off at our driveways. I went inside, told my parents goodnight, and headed straight to bed. While I was brushing my teeth, I heard barking. Not just one dog, all the dogs in the neighborhood. It wasn't normal barking, it was intense. Warning barks. But I was so tired I didn't think much of it. I climbed into bed and fell asleep. But that night, around 3 a.m., I was ripped from my sleep by a scream. A bone-chilling, guttural scream that echoed through the entire neighborhood. I shot out of bed and ran to my window. Lights were turning on in every house. People were stepping out onto their porches. I ran outside and saw my parents already out there. Leo walked over to me, wide-eyed. All the adults were gathered around a woman. She was sobbing, trembling. It was the mother of two kids who lived a few houses down. She said she'd gotten up to use the bathroom, and when she passed her kids' room, she glanced at the window and saw a man trying to open it. She thought she saw a ghost. She screamed so loud it could have shattered glass. The man jumped, stumbled back, and ran off into the darkness. No one knew where he went. The father called the police right away. While we waited, Leo turned to me and said, "I heard the scream, but right after that, I heard footsteps outside our house, someone running past." Before I could reply, Leo's little brother walked up to us. He looked scared. He said, "Leo, I saw a man in our backyard." We froze. Leo asked, "When?" The boy pointed, "Just now. He's still there." We didn't even think. We ran to the parents and told them. Right then, the police arrived. They started talking to the mother, taking her statement. But Leo's dad flagged one of the officers and told him what his son had just said. So Leo's dad, my dad, and the officer made their way to the backyard. We waited on the street, hearts pounding, and then we heard a shout. A flashlight beam, and out from behind the doghouse, a man stepped forward, hands raised, covered in dirt, eyes wide. It was him, the man from the gray van. They cuffed him right there and walked him up the driveway. Everyone was stunned silent. When they showed him to the mother, she broke down. "That's him," she cried. "That's the man who tried to break into my kid's room." He didn't say a word, just stood there as they put him in the back of the patrol car and drove away. Turned out, he was wanted for other crimes too. He was convicted and locked up. He never came back. The neighborhood eventually returned to its usual vibrant self. Kids played, bikes rolled, life went on. But for me, every now and then, when I see a gray van parked where it shouldn't be or hear dogs barking a little too much at night, I remember that night, and I get chills. I'm an adult now, but I'll never forget the man in the gray van.